Hello and welcome into the KE Report. Chad and Corey here, getting an update from Silver Tiger Metals, traded on the TSX.V under the ticker SLVR and on the OTCQX under the ticker SLVTF. And we're joined today with the president and CEO of Silver Tiger Metals, Glenn Jessome. And Glenn, it's always great getting you on the show. It's been too long, man. It's been since the end of last year since we've had an update on the Tiger. I'd love you to give us a holistic view of all of the exploration work you've been doing, the project fundamentals, and how things have grown since we've last talked.
Gentlemen, I can't believe it's been that long. It might have been New Orleans. I'm guessing that's when it was, and that's way too long. But you know what? We just put our heads down, and it's been an incredible 7 or 8 months. You know what? We like to say for our business here, we always kind of do what we say. And so we've done what we said. You remember back at New Orleans, we came out in September for Beaver Creek and Denver last year, the gold show with call it a couple of 100 million silver equivalent ounces, 100 in the stockwork, 100 in the underground. That's rough. That's not 43-101. Here's the numbers, but roughly that's what it was. So people should know that. A great grade for the stockwork, a nice grade for underground. But that gets you nothing. That's a big piece of paper, a study. So then I said, okay, what's next? And that's what we delivered when we were in New Orleans and we went through it. That PEA, gorgeous. We'll talk a bit more about that. But that's just your preliminary economic assessment. I can't build that stockwork zone on that. So it's put your head down, drill another 30,000 meters, 150, 200 holes, whatever it was, and move that to the document, the study, our PFS, which will come out before September, as I told everybody. So I can take that to Beaver Creek and then on to the Denver Gold Show in Colorado Springs and in 2 or 3, 4 weeks. And deliver that, and that's the document we can build on for this project. And there was all kinds of reasons we're not going to get into too much in a few minutes, but that document, I'm dealing with the debt providers now. That's going to be enough for me to get the majority of that debt I need to get this thing built. And that's just starting point. That's where we are. We've done everything we said. We'll talk about details in a minute. But remember, there's always two parts to these projects in Mexico, in our experience. Flowering epithermal system. Flower at the top is always that big stockwork zone. Check the box for that. Ready to go, ready to build that thing. Number one. And then, of course, always, remember, we've drilled off 100 million silver equivalents underground. It's what everybody loves, the Tiger high grade. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 meters, 1, 2, 3, 10, 20. We've drilled as high as 85 kilos silver equivalent. Well, as soon as we finish this and deliver the stockwork zone done with a bow on it to build, right back at that underground where we've done hundreds and hundreds of holes, finished some drilling from underground this year. Metallurgical work's all been done. We've got a little bit of geotechnical drilling to do. And then first half of next year, because we never stop, door number 2, get into that underground, get that PEA, first half of next year, the first economic assessment, preliminary for the underground. And then, of course, as soon as that's done, start moving towards the PFS for that. So it's always, always keep moving the project forward. Remember also, we're going to talk about permitting at the end, but fully permitted already for the underground. And so we're going to drive that ahead as fast as we possibly can. So that's Tiger in a nutshell. We've done everything we said we've done. We're going to come to September with 8-10 million bucks in the bank, PFS done immediately while we're waiting to get our permit finished for that. Get right back in and finish off the underground. So that's it. It's everything we said we would do, we did.
All right, so Glenn, there's been a lot of drill results that have come out really since the tail end of April, all focused on moving forward with this PFS instead of going into individual drill results. Talk to us about what you've seen in terms of changes or improvements that could be made from that last mineral resource estimate from September of last year.
So remember what we're doing here, guys. Okay, we're going to go from a PEA to a PFS. So the PEA is one test of what the deposit looks like. We're going to talk about that for a minute because those numbers I can come back to. And remember in that, all of your inferred and your indicated can be included. So let's be real simple here. That stockwork for the PEA, call that 53 million tons. 42 million of it was indicated. That's good. That can move over to the PFS. You keep it. You can't take the inferred. So a big part of what we always want to do, and it doesn't usually happen, is like, let's stay where we were. If we can come through a PFS, moving all the inferred, maybe finding some more as we drilled all these holes and coming out where we were, that's a huge win. People have to understand kind of the move from PEA to PFS, much higher test. So we're feeling, and we press released this. So, as we started to drill, and but before we do that, I want to talk about the PEA. I want to remind people about, how powerful the first part of our project was. PEA came out, $287 million NAV for that, just the stock work. Forget the undergrad, door number one. Number two is 56% IRR. Payback, 1.7 years. CapEx, 59 million US. I mean, so manageable, so easy for me to get that money on debt. The thing over the 11-year mine life makes about 445 million USD after cash flow. That's at the numbers we used when we did the report. People should always look at. I don't say it because I got to be conservative a little bit. But if we looked at what that would look like, just nothing changes. I'm still talking about the PA so people understand how valuable this stockwork zone and mining it with that low capex is. At today's prices, if you go look at the sensitivity table, go and look at my slide deck on our website and verify. That NAV goes to 532 million USD. The IRR goes to 88.9%. The payback goes down to 1 year. So you pay your capital back in 1 year. And guess what it makes over those 11 years? 806 million USD after tax free cash flow. That's the power of the stockwork, because that stockwork drives cash for the underground. So I just have to remind people how amazing that PEA was. And if you look at it at today's prices, which we used way less in the study when we did it, that's the numbers. That's how they translate. So now let's flip to the future. That doesn't mean anything. Drilled all those holes, basically ready to release the PFS, way higher test, geotechnical. You've proven a lot of measured and indicated we'll talk about. But we want to, a huge win is to stay where we are. Well, we've press released, and you can go look at it so I can talk about it. We wanted to do that so that basically we could, as we started to drill the rest of these holes, because remember, we'd stopped a lot of that drilling several years ago to get ready for this. As we drilled, three things happened. I'm going to make it really simple, and people understand this. And there's a great diagram on my website if they want to go look at in the verified presentation on the program overview, PFS program. Just think about as those holes were starting to be drilled to further confirm the measured and indicated, to move some of that inferred to indicated so we can keep it. That was the gist of the drill program. We start to find new things. And we've been talking about that for 6 or 8 months now. And what we started to find out was this new keel zone. And that's all going to be within the pit. That will be contained. It's not too deep. At the keel, think about the keel of a boat. At the very bottom of the pit, never been drilled. When we put some holes there, we started getting some amazing high grade. What we started to get was some of that unmined Tigre vein and the other veins that were down there. And so we see multi-kilo intercepts down there, which we're going to be able to get in the pit. So beautiful. Added the keel zone, bottom. Remember how a mining project works. As you have an ore deposit or a vein or a stockwork zone, there's a hanging wall and a footwall. Just think of it very simply as this. As those drill holes from surface came down to further delineate what we'd already proved in the PEA, a lot of the footwall and a lot of the hanging wall, which we just had not drilled, turned out not to be waste rock anymore, but turned into ore. So between the hanging wall, footwall, and the new drilled keel zone, we press released that we think that contained metal, maybe the ore also, is going to be a minimum 10 to 15% increase from what we had. Move all that inferred over as much as we can. You're going to see how much we get in the PFS. Find some more and include it. And then the last thing that was a real nice, not surprise, but success. Let's call it that with the drill program. I told everybody, really important for this deposit is you need to have, if you can, a starter pit. And if you remember our starter pit, I would have shown that and talked about it. Starter pit is just a spot at surface in the middle of the deposit. And in our case, what's so nice about it is it's got almost a zero strip for the first 2 years of ore. And it was a lot higher grade than the rest of the deposit. So what a beautiful thing to start with in the first 2 or 3 years while you're paying your capital back, while you're getting everything ramped up. We were telling everybody that we wanted to have 2 years of that, which is what I would need for the financiers to hang their hat on. That's your reserve, that's your measured and indicated for. We've drilled all that. That's all finished. You'll see the final results of that in the PFS, but we're extremely happy with how that went. I got to be careful what I said. We've alluded to the fact that we've drilled that, and it looks very, very good. We consider that a big success in moving ore from measured to indicated. You'll see the final results of that in the PFS. So overall, the program has been fantastic. Remember what you bolt on top of that. You do all the metallurgical work. Your metallurgical work, you're fine tuning. You go from bottle rolls to columns. People understand that, and all that works back. You fine tune your metallurgy and get it, to the point where it's not just here's an estimate. We're now at a point with a PFS where you could build on this. You need to know across the ore body what's going to happen. That'll all be in there, and that'll be fine tuned. And then, of course, all your geotechnical drilling. Golder have to come in. They're the people that do the pit design for us. We just rely on those engineers to come in and say, here's your pit slope, all of these things. All of that drilling was done. We're very pleased with how that all worked out. You'll see all the results of that in the PFS. So I'm trying to simplify it, guys, and it's a hard thing to do, but these are pieces of paper. People hear about these reports. It's a report. MRE, there's your couple of 100 million silver equivalent ounces underground and stockwork. Number 2, PEA, preliminary. Keyword, preliminary. You couldn't build on that. I wouldn't. We need to know what's going to happen. And no one would finance that. But then you go and you do all this work we've done since last September to get to the point where I told everybody to have our PFS for Beaver Creek and for the Denver Gold Show. And we've done all that work. It's all finished. It's now another report. But the beauty of this report is, there you go, Mr. Banker. You can hang your hat on the fact that look at the ore we have. This is a finalized plan. Look at the measured and indicated we have. Give me the money to go build this. And everything's coming together beautifully in that. And I can't wait to get it out there. Well, I think Beaver Creek starts on September 9th. So I've told my team they better have it in my inbox by middle of the week before. So stay tuned for that coming soon.
All right, we'll definitely keep looking for that document, the PFS, the pre-feasibility study. But some great comments there, Glenn, that you've found this new high-grade keel zone. Yep. You're going to move some categories from inferred into indicated, hopefully grow the resources, even despite putting more controls on it, more metallurgical testing. But let's just back up real quick, and you wanted to simplify it. Just remind people from a big picture, maybe that are not technical, they're not geologists,
Sure.
the significance that things start open pit, they go underground, but you actually have silver in a couple places. We've talked about this before, but it's worth reiterating. You've got the open pit, you've got these veins, you've got the sulfide zone, and you got the shale. Just walk us through how this all ties together into the big vision of the company from open pit to underground. What does this look like over time, Glenn?
And that's a beautiful question. Just let's go back. We got to look at a little history. Okay. Why did we get this project? We got this project because 2 reasons. We looked at it, and it was in another public company, which we got and delisted and took the asset back in 17, 18. I forget the year now. Got to work, spent $125 million on it so far to get to this point. That being said, remember what the old timers did. 20 years, when a 100 and 200 ton per day mill. I got to remind people of this. That's why we got this thing. Okay. The old timers, American company, 1910, 1930, went home because the silver price, the Great Depression crashed. Okay. They just said, we've made our money. And 200 ton per day mill, they took 100 million silver equivalent ounces out of an underground where the openings were 2-3 feet, 2-4 meters. That's all they had, just enough to get in at 2.5 kilos. And they just went home. And with everything they stopped mining and when they went home was the same. So this was an underground high-grade silver mine. That's what Tigre is. That's what Tigre is. That's what it will be. We're going to talk about that in a minute. That's door number 2. We get there, modern technology. We start looking at the surface and the stockwork, which the old timers, buddy. If the old timers didn't get 1.2 kilos per ton, that was their cutoff. If it wasn't above that, they didn't mine it. Can you imagine? Go find me a mine in the world that has 1.2 kilo grade, let alone a cutoff. There's none. It doesn't exist. So from our perspective, all this stockwork they were walking on, well, look at the numbers it generates. They didn't want that. They just wanted that 1-2 meters of anything over 1.2 kilos. So that being said, look at the stockwork. We had to get that. That's just so economic. Now we're just going to go do exactly what the old timers did. They took 100. We've already got 100 million with limited drilling in the underground in the books in an MRE. You saw last September. That's going to keep growing. We think that the underground here will be 10. Like the pit now is what, 11 years, 12-year mine life? We'll find more pits to the north. We're not even talking about that today. It's another conversation, but that The underground, in our opinion, will go 10, 20, 30 years. We already see the first 10 years out in front of us today with what we've done already. So what's the plan? Yes, high-grade silver veins. You saw it. Quartz vein, 75% silver, 25% gold. Go look at my drill results for the last 6, 7, 8 years as we've been drilling the underground. 1, 2, 3, 10, 20, 86 kilos. Super high grade quartz vein. That's all the old timers want. Then we keep exploring. Old timers didn't want any of this. We find that beautiful, beautiful shale zone, 10, 20-meter cuts outside the vein of up to a kilo, 2 kilos. Wow, beautiful stuff as you're going down on the narrow vein. And then lastly, a year and a half ago, massive sulfide. That's what it is. We call it a sulfide zone. Massive sulfide is not a word. It's already 750 by 300 high by 40, upwards of 600-700 grams in many cases, multi-kilo. More bulk tonnage mining in the underground. Everything we've ever seen in Mexico is narrow vein. So to have these other two types of mineralization, bulk tonnage potential that we know is there. We've drilled the shale for over 5 kilometers. We've already got a kilometer of the sulfide zone. We've transitioned to underground. So we get back in the fall after we get a bow on the PFS for the stockwork zone, and we start drilling that. And then you're going to see what the underground component looks like. Watch the drill results. There's many of them. You just can go look at them all from years and years and years back as we're moving the project forward. And then you get a PEA on that first half of next year. And that's what El Tigre has always been. That's what most mining projects in Mexico are. Big stock work, get that first, take that cash flow, and develop a big underground mine. We're not reinventing the wheel here. This is the wheel. So that's the plan, guys. Really excited to start getting some of those results. Look, for me, I get excited about what I just said. Those numbers I talked about in the PEA, $500 million US NAV, thing makes 800 million over 11 years after tax US free cash flow for a 59 million investment. That's great. That's going to pay off when I get it. Look at my peers. Look at my peers out there. Look at a Silvercrest, similar production profile that we'll have when we just get the stock work done. Look at Aya. So we joined that club. That's exciting to me. But I know that people like to see, that next discovery. We've already made a discovery. Our underground is pretty well brownfields right now. We're defining it now. But you're going to see some of those 1, 2, 3. I can't wait to get some of those big holes coming back out because people like that, especially in a good gold and silver market, which we have. But make no mistake, I'm only doing that for one purpose, for the PEA for the underground, which can't wait to get that out first half of next year.
So, Glenn, past these economic studies, then let's talk about the key stepping stones also that investors want for the de-risked aspect. One, you said you're talking to bankers, right? Get this PFS out. The estimated capital cost from that PEA is right around $60 million. Your market cap,
Yes,
it's
sir.
over that level. You're at 76 million right now. That's even with the pullback in the share price. So talk to us about the options you have to fund that initial, generally lower capex, and then permitting on the back of it. These are two key stepping stones that all companies need to move into construction.
So we've been in Mexico a long time, guys, almost 30 years. The group here at Halifax. We built 1, 2, 3 mines. Not many people have done that. You know the numbers, and I don't mind sharing this. I had Joe Foster from Van Eck. He wouldn't mind me saying, down at the mountain. Van Eck are one of our large institutional shareholders, and in May, and we sat at breakfast the next day. I said, Joe, how many companies get to where we are, get to build their mine? And he's been around forever, and we were throwing numbers around. There's studies that say it's 1 in 5,000. We thought it might be. I thought it might be closer, and he didn't disagree. The 1 in 10,000. We've done that 3 times. 3 times. Plus, we sold 2 other projects to majors in that period of time. So that experience is very important. Secondly, everybody's been down in Mexico for the last 5 or 6 years. Nothing can happen. It's terrible. Well, guess what? In the last 3 years, for this company, it's important to note that from the smartest institutions in the world, through all that, we've raised $80 million, this company, in bought deal financings from the top institutions in the world. Franklin Templeton, Merck, Sam, Van Eck. Just go look at the institutional list on all the top. They gave us that money and said, get to work. So we did that in a very tough time. We've always been able to raise money, never short. Going to end all this work with another probably ballpark $8-9 million left in the bank to get back at the underground. So people shouldn't doubt the fact that we're going to be able to get the debt for this. It's a very robust economic project. The moving ore from measured and from indicated and inferred to measured and indicated, boy, we did a good job with that. Stay tuned for that. I do not think, I can never guarantee anything, that it's going to be any issue for us to get the debt to build this thing once I get my permit, full stop. And look at our track record. If you're sitting here saying I had no money and I'd raised $5 million in the last 5 years, sure, you should question it. Go look at our track record. So that's that. That's done. I don't consider, people ask me about that. That's something I don't consider a risk. Full stop. Project is there. Get my permit. Nothing's easy. We will get the debt. That's that. Permitting. Look, it's been tough in Mexico. And Mexico is a democratic country, like Canada, like the United States. We respect all of their elections. The administration that has been there since 2018, we've worked with, and we've been successful under. We've moved this project from a few drill holes to a couple hundred, in that period, a couple of 100 million silver equivalent ounces, a PEA, a pre-feasibility study, and raised over $100 million in that period. I'm okay with that. Now we come to the point where we need to get a permit. They've been difficult to get in Mexico. There's not been many, if any, but we didn't need one. There's a new administration. I've done on my website a very good synopsis about a month ago. Go to watch the video. It's on the web center CEO interviews. Anyone wants to find a little bit more about the politics there, about the new administration, their pro-economics. They don't come in until October 1st. So right now, until the end of October, we're dealing with the other administration. There's always been a lot of noise over the last year about no open pits, no permits. But in my opinion, I will get to October 1st. Will I have a permit before October 1st? No. We are very comfortable. I'm very comfortable that once we get into next year, there will be the opportunity still for El Tigre to get their permit for the open pit, build that, and transition to the underground. Remember and I think people need to be reminded how it works in Mexico. We have a permit for the underground. That was something when I bought that public company came with it. Very important. So I've always had that permit. Our MIA, that's what it's called in Mexico, a permit application called the MIA, that we filed a year ago for the open pit, a little more than a year ago now, was not for a new permit application, it was for an amendment to our current permit to allow us to also basically do the open pit. That has gone through the normal course. It's gone through the system. We see no red flags on that. And I am very comfortable and confident that going forward, we're going to get a permit. That's all I can tell you. But you know what? I've been talking about this for 2 years. And there's only one way that people are going to come back and say he's right, and that's when I get it. I'm okay with that. We're executing our business plan exactly as we have said. Stop work, open pit to the underground, full stop. That's what our business plan is. If we thought we weren't going to get it, we'd stop. And so, our actions should speak louder, I guess, than any words I can tell you. So very, very, very comfortable. We're going to go forward. I think you're going to hear, look, there's going to be the current administration are there until October. Could there be some noise in the last Congresses about what's going to happen, legislation? Are they going to change mining laws? Are they going to ban open pits? From our perspective, we're just going to stay out of that. We're very comfortable on the other side of all of that we will still be in the position to get our open pit permit as an amendment to our current underground permit, which we have as of right.
All right. Well, we'll wrap it up there. We'll wait and see how things go in October, Glenn, but you got a lot on the move as a company, a lot of drilling going on, a lot of de-risking, a lot of metallurgical work, and a lot of things building towards this PFS. That seems like the next key catalyst. And then obviously you got the PEA on the underground coming down the road as well. So we'll keep following along with the news here at the KE Report. And if people listening want to follow along with the news, definitely click on the link below this interview. It takes you right over to the company website, straight to their news section. Glenn, keep us posted as more hits the wires. We'll get you back on for an update, and looking forward to our next conversation.
Thank you, guys. After that PFS is out, let's get 10, 15 minutes to go through the key numbers. I think we'll excited for people to hear about that. And I really appreciate you doing this end of summer. Enjoy the rest of the summer, everyone, and we'll talk to you in September once we have some news to share in our PFS.